It's really uncanny how often the devil, the death, and the tower card showed up in the series of readings. And you received the death card, but then again you received the Wheel of Fortune card in the reading too. And that was another prominent feature of these readings, is that there'd be a really negative card paired with a really positive card, and in a really weird way, they made harmony and balance. It was kind of like the acceptance of defeat and victory at the same time. Now the cards for the past on the left are a really great example of a negative card paired with a positive card. You receive the Five of Swords and the Ten of Pentacles. The Five of Swords is the conflict card. It's about arguments and disputes that's gotten to the point where it's just too costly to continue the battle, and people will throw down the swords and just walk away. And sometimes it's more about the disappointment of defeat, because you feel like it's more of a personal defeat. You know, you felt like the game had no rules. But this is where you have to start making some. But the redeeming feature of this is in your past. If you haven't reasonably resolved any differences in the past, it's time to start doing it in the future. And here in this case, the Ten of Pentacles is more of a feeling of a respite, of stability and contentment. So you've been kind of wavering in between an argumentative time with times of familial familyness and stability. And you've been able to feather a nest as a temporary comfort zone. But with any 10 card, it's now an ending and new beginning coming up. And it's time to look forward to a sense of rebirth. It's time to shake things up a little bit and move on. You know, disorder is expected, but it wavers in between order and disorder, chaos and order. And now it's time to put everything in order. Now the cards next to it, I consider the base of the spine for sourcing and urgings. And this is from past life experiences, childhood, all the way up to the present, and how you unconsciously think of them. And you receive the Four of Swords and the Seven of Wands. The Four of Swords is a time-out card. Knights in the medieval day were required to buy their tomb before they went out on campaigns, just in case they didn't come back alive. And now this knight is laying on his tomb, wondering what the purpose of his life was, or is, and where he's going in life, and why did his friends die and he came home alive. And now he's mulling over the direction of his life path, and what's the purpose of it? Where is he going to go, and what will make him happy? This is a respite from the challenges of conflict. And you're convalescing. And you're revving up your batteries for up-and-coming new challenges. You know there's going to be some more battles and some more disorder. You know, I consider this card like a pseudo post-traumatic stress disorder card. Sometimes there's some imminent breakdown here. You've had some physical strain and mental drain, and you're kind of weakened, and coping is difficult. And the Seven of Wands is reinforcing that there is going to be some more battles. It's about defending yourself, and a lot of times it's defending your beliefs. But maybe you're in the Four of Swords mode right now that you're rethinking about your beliefs. Maybe you had the attitude prior to this about never giving in. Conceding meant losing. But then again, were you right? By standing your ground? Are you willing to continue to represent these beliefs that you've had, or are your beliefs changing? Your authority has been challenged, and now what are you going to do? Now the cards up above for your sacrum and pelvic for what I consider awakening, spiritual awakening, and growth of all kinds, to include even your sexual prowess. You receive the Ace of Wands and the Eight of Pentacles. The Ace of Wands is a promise of a new beginning, of fruitful endeavors. Heaven has given the earthly plane a message of good fortune. Now it's time to undertake some new ventures. But this card is also about action and doing, inspiration and creativity. And now it's time to make your visions into a reality. It's time to wrap your hand around the wand and take control of your life path. But it's saying now it is a new beginning and you're feeling more refreshed. You have the energy to be the little worker bee, because that's what the Eight of Pentacles is about. It's a worker card. It's a card of utilizing your talents and being recognized for it. It's about the fruits of your labor, being rewarded with success. But it requires you to keep your nose to the grindstone and continuing going forward with these visions that you have for goals. Maybe you have some latent talents that you haven't utilized lately that'll be coming out of the closet. And you didn't realize these talents would be highly coveted. Whatever your goals are, this is going to entail some hard work. And really the theme of this card is success will come through hard work. And the Ace of Wands can bring the ambition and the inner strength to bring this forward. Now the cards up above for your solar plexus, which I consider sensing and feeling, or maybe even gut feelings, receive Death and the Moon card. You're in a transformation, or you're going into one. Whatever arguments transpired in the past from the Five of Swords, that was carried along to the Four of Swords and the Seven of Wands, threw you into a change. Maybe in the past you haven't wanted to change anything. Change is not your enemy. You might be the enemy to change. And if you don't change, there's going to be more loss coming in the present and future. It's time now to shed some beliefs or some things that are no longer serving you and are not advantageous in your life anymore. I've seen in the other signs some entrapment of some type of routines in life that are very negative. And here the Death card is beckoning for some type of closure. And for you to be the phoenix, to rise up from the ashes. The Death card comes along when it's most needed. Maybe you didn't make the decisions you should have, or maybe you made some bad decisions. And it sparked all of this. Fate leads the willing and drags the unwilling. You want an end to a long drawn-out drama that's been playing in your life. And the Moon card is about secrets and deception and seeing things distorted from the reflective light of the moon. It's about fear being instilled of the unknown. And here it might be you don't have a lot of information or the right information to make some decisions. I don't know, maybe there's been some manipulation by the people in your life, or maybe you're manipulating yourself and lying to yourself. But this category for the solar plexus is about gut feelings. And the Moon card is saying to start paying attention to your intuition, dreams, premonitions, any consequences, because normally they're a chain of events that happen that you didn't connect the dots, that this was all one big whole unity, one connected deal. And it seems like there's been some confusion. And any transformation that the Death card brings about can also cause some confusion. Changes are occurring, and maybe swiftly, or more swiftly than you feel comfortable. Now the cards in the center are the heart of the matter. And you receive the Nine of Cups and the Knight of Cups. Now the Nine of Cups is the wish card. I always say when I see this card, curiosity killed the cat and satisfaction brought him back. Because this card is about satisfaction and happiness. You've kept your eyes on the prize. And hard work brought you to an achievement point. Wishes and dreams can come true. And then again, this is more like maybe a ticket to redeem one wish. Yeah, you get a ticket and you go and hand it in here. I want a wish. So is there one thing that you really want in your life? And the Knight of Swords is offering you an opportunity of emotions, positive emotions and love. And he can warn about some difficulties happening. He's trotting along, going towards the future in this reading. But one thing about the Knight is that he's a lover and not a fighter. And maybe this is where you're going to bury the hatchet with the Five of Swords in the past. It's just time to put the swords down and move on. And I've seen that in the last couple readings that I'm saying, just let it go and move on. Now the cards on the bottom right for your throat for communicating and teaching. Receive the Wheel of Fortune and Justice. Boy, that's a lot of karmic energy going on there. Woo, I tell you. You know, it's saying the wheel is on the upswing for you and fates of fortune are on your side. The disorder in the past is making way to order. It's saying evil in the past can be transmuted into good fortune, and that the balance of life is changing. And this is reinforced by the Justice card. Because when you see the Justice card, normally something's out of balance and it's going back into balance. And she can also weld her sword of accountability for something you did in the past or something people did to you in the past. So there is consequences. And there can be punishment or rewards for your behavior. And this can also indicate some type of legal matters that now are going to turn out very fortunate for you. Now the cards up above for your third eye, for what I consider sensing and envisioning. You receive the Lover's card and the Queen of Swords. Now the Queen of Swords is kind of a dipolar opposite to the Lover's card. The Lover's card is about emotions and sexual attractions and desires. But its underlying theme is actually making good decisions. Decisions between vice and virtue that make a big difference in your life. And the Queen of Swords is a really cut and dried energy. She's saying, don't use emotions when you're making decisions because sometimes you let your emotions run away. She's a really independent individual and normally is divorced or has marital conflicts or has some type of separation. And there's some bitterness and spitefulness involved in this. And when she shows up with the Lover's card, it's sometimes you have to put your resentment into check. Maybe you've had some bad experiences with your love affairs. Now the cards up above for your crown for knowing and understanding. You receive the Page of Wands and the Knight of Swords. You know, pages bring news and ideas, and knights launch these ideas or have you go into action from the news. But both of their energy is really inexperienced and sometimes very immature. And the page is more about escapades, and the knight is more about recklessness. And both of them make rash decisions. So now you have to go back to the Four of Swords mode and contemplate over what's going on here so you don't make any mistakes. Now the cards for your future is the Ace of Swords, the Queen of Pentacles, and the Ten of Cups. Goodness, the only thing you're missing is Wands, and that represents you. Wands does. Kind of interesting. The Ace of Swords is the promise of a new beginning, but there's two sides and two edges to that sword that can cut and undercut or restore and rebuild. And it's really up to you to use your intellect to figure out which way you want to go. This card also says it's been a rough road to get where you're at right now. And if you don't change a few things, it's going to be a rough road continuing in the future. But it is the promise for a new beginning. And you can have some new epiphanies, shining a light on certain aspects of life, clearing out some old things, maybe even emotional baggage. Now the Queen of Pentacles is about practical affairs. She's a pragmatist, and she wants you to take on that posture. She wants you to take a grip on reality and take a really good look at what's going on. But the Ten of Cups is the happiness card. This is carrying on from the Ten of Pentacles in the past, now to the Ten of Cups in the future. You get a glimpse of heaven over the Rainbow of Cups, but there was a lot of trials and tribulations and a lot of storms to get to see the Rainbow of Cups. And this card requires you to have a simple lifestyle and revere your family, friends and neighbors. It's time for you to manifest some harmonious relationships with the people in your life, because the tranquility that you're seeking is coming into fruition. You've dropped the swords to the ground and you're moving on. And now I pulled a During Virtue Messages of the Angel card, and you receive Carissa. You're at the end of a cycle in your life. Call upon your angels to comfort you and to guide you to your next step. Happiness awaits you now. Well, the Ten of Cups pretty much says it all. It's the happiness card. And I wish you acceptance, peace, and happiness.